Coke story, fight story. I don't care which one. I just want to hear one. Okay. Like, I know you had to see somebody doing line off a girl's ass or somebody getting their ass beat.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the ass beat story is when the Diz got beat down at a nightclub.
Oh, word.
This is legendary.
Yeah, that is a legendary story, a legendary night. And it's also a lesson just to treat people right and to speak to people. Speak to people the right way. One of the things that always had me in awe because I'm from Milwaukee, born and raised, and it was just a certain level of shit that you just didn't say to people. You didn't talk to people a certain way because you get punched in the fucking mouth. Like it's just that's just how I grew up. And so I came up, and you just spoke to people with respect, and people respected you. And one of the things that I noticed, especially with the Diz and just in general with people who were looked at as celebrities or stars, is they could talk to people any old way. Mm-hmm. Like they would just say anything like, man, get the fuck out of my face with that, with that request or whatever. Right. Like, man, whatever, to whoever.
Right. Not
knowing, and, one of the laws of power is just, like, know who you're talking to at all times. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's know who you're dealing with.
Right.
You just don't know who people is and what their fucking story is. So, the way I remember it, we were DJing a album release party for Do or Die. And he was on the turntables. He was DJing. And some people say it was because of what he said on the air. I don't remember him saying anything on the air. Mm-hmm. I do remember that he was playing music that wasn't Do or Die's music in the party. And it was a Do or Die album release party. And somebody came up to him and was like, hey, man, you need to throw some Do or Die. Fuck all that other, commercial shit that you playing.
Right.
And he was like, fuck you, I'm DJing, I play what the fuck I want to play.
Yo.
Not knowing who the fuck this was, who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about being in the clubs as long as I have been, and I just got a sixth sense for bullshit. Like I see shit when it's starting to build, and then it's like, oh, it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
Like anybody that knows me knows that about me. Like, man, Mike will get the fuck up out of a place. And that's because I've seen people get shot. I've been in places where people. I wasn't there when they got shot off because I dipped.
Right.
So, so he had, basically said to these motherfuckers like, "Fuck y'all." I play what the fuck I want to play in this party. That's what I'm paid to do. That's what I'm gonna do. Fuck you.
Yikes.
And I remember being out in the club, and I remember hearing what definitely was the sound of a nigga getting thrown on the turntables. Like I knew the sound of. Like, I knew the sound of, like everybody knows that sound. Like everybody knows the sound of a beat down. It's like we black, we come from, hey. So I was hearing just the sound of commotion in the booth of like, bumping his turn. It's the turntable. Oh, whatever. The turntable era. I'm sorry, I knocked some shit out.
Good.
My bad.
Let's go, Dr. Come on.
So. I start walking back to the booth, and I'm not a fighter. I'm not finna jump in no shit unless you my mans or my people. Right. And honestly, and one thing that people never really knew is the Diz wasn't really my man, and he deserved to get his ass beat, because he talks so much shit. Like sometimes in life you just be like, sometimes a nigga just need his ass beat to just kind of.
You had that coming.
Yeah. So I'm walking toward the booth. It's a commotion, and I remember turning around, going, "Yep, I'm not going up there."
Right.
I went up when all the shit was set, when the dust was settled. I remember somebody had jumped in, was like trying to help dude and get the niggas off him. It was like 2 or 3 niggas. When I got up to the booth, the nigga was on the floor in the booth, like trying to get himself together. Like he had just been beat the fuck down, like just had his ass handed to him. You know what I'm saying? West Side style.
Yeah,
right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Like we've all seen it.
Yeah.
Like beat your ass and then bounce. Like just ran the fuck up out of there.
Right.
And so he's trying to get himself together, and basically it was just like after he got up, he was like, I don't know what that was all about. Like he was checking his jaw was fucked up. He's like, Like this nigga literally thought it was like a case of mistaken identity. Like he was so far gone in his mind of understanding because there was a shift in the streets after that. Yeah. Like the shift was, oh, we can beat DJs' asses. Like it was like on some Rap-A-Lot Houston. Like I heard that's what they used to do to DJs in the 90s. Like there was literally a shift of niggas was like, so all these bullshit ass niggas that ain't playing our records, like we could show up to the club and beat their asses. Like I felt that vibe in the air. Wow. Niggas was literally in front of me while I was DJing, staring at me. Whoa. Like it had got like there, and I was always around. My crew was like had their ear to the streets. Mm-hmm. So I've always been aware of what the streets were saying versus what Diz believed, which was like he literally was like, oh, them niggas must have got the wrong guy. No, nigga, they got the right guy. You talk shit, and they beat your ass. He ended up having to get stitches in his jaw. I remember he came up like he loved to do radio so much. We was on like 1 or 2 days a week, and he came up to the radio station on a Sunday, and he didn't have his jaw wired shut. It wasn't like Kanye, but he had like stitches in his jaw. And I'm like, nigga, you do radio like. We talking, fam. Go home. Like, you can't do radio right now.
You're done.
Your jaw. And I will never forget this lady called in the radio station because it was super low key. It was like, there's no social media. It was like 96 or whatever.
Yeah,
so
hearsay
it was like word of mouth. You know what I'm saying? So a couple of people on the request line knew this nigga got his ass beat. So, like, this one lady, I'll never forget, she called the radio station. And she was like, man, I just, heard, some things happened, some things went down. I hope you're all right. And she was like, he was like, yeah, I'm all right. And it's, kind of disrespecting the whole thing. And fuck that, I'm all right.
Right.
And she was like, because one thing I know, like, some scars take longer to heal than others. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was the dopest shit because she was basically like, you are fucked up, like literally, like your jaw's fucked up, you're fucked up physically, but mentally it's gonna be a minute for you get because you caught a public beatdown, my nigga,
for running your mouth,
you
didn't even realize, and you still thinking it ain't even about what it's about,
right. So that's my greatest beatdown story.
Yeah,
he deserved that ass beating because he talked to people any old way, and people like. Sometimes I'd be like, I don't want to talk like this in public, but this is how I would talk with my niggas, like in a circle. So I'd be like, talk like it happened.
Right.
It ain't like I'm making this shit up.
Right. Exactly. Right.
The nigga talked shit. So I mean, there wasn't anything I had to learn from that because I already came in the door with an understanding.
Right.
Like there are plenty of times where niggas could have came for me. But I had sit downs. Like I have had a gang of sit downs because motherfuckers didn't want to beat my ass. They were like, we fuck with Mike Love.
Right.
Let's get to the bottom of this. And I promise you, the Chicago way, this shit is a mob. The city is a mob city. They will, just like they did on The Sopranos. Like the way the mob did shit, it was like, you know what? Motherfuckers want to put a bullet in your head. But we gonna sit down with you and holler at you first. Right. Like that's the way it's supposed to be done. Right. Anytime you watch The Sopranos, that's the way they did it. That's just the way it's supposed to be.
Good heat check.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now if you talk shit at the sit down, then you on your own.
Right.
And that happened a few times on The Sopranos. Like, fuck you, Tony. Fuck you. You're fucking from Jersey. I'm from New York.
Right.
You don't fucking come to New York. Right.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Okay. So that's what we on?
Right. That's what time it is with dudes. Okay.
All right. Right.
We'll see.
So I wasn't like that. I'm from Milwaukee, and I was sitting down with niggas. So I sat down with niggas to avoid an ass kicking. The end.
That is awesome.
Dope.